And Matt, if you will come please do the honors and introduce our speaker.
It is my honor to introduce to you Watson Bryant. Watson goes by Wat, so we can call him Wat. I've known Watson for over 50 years. Approximately 1970, I met him through his younger brother. Wat makes a strong and lasting first impression. That's a compliment. Wat graduated from Vanderbilt University where he played lacrosse. His brother also graduated from Vanderbilt where he played lacrosse. They played lacrosse together. Watson went to the University of South Carolina Law School. He came to Georgia to practice. And he met Richard Jewell, and they became friends. And today I've asked him to talk about three basic things. His relationship with Richard Jewell, his relationship with Clint Eastwood, the director-actor, because he is now good buddies with him, and also the making of the movie Richard Jewell. How many of you have seen the movie Richard Jewell? Oh, look at that. Now, how many of you watched it because to be prepared for this meeting? Now, without further ado, give a warm Kiwanis welcome to Wat Bryant. Give it up, give it up.
Well, it's so nice to be with you all here today. I will try to remember the three things that I am supposed to address. Imagine, if you will, that it's about 6 years ago and that you're in your driveway and you're starting your lawnmower up for the first time, and you get a call from a lady that wrote an article about you and Richard, Marie Brenner. This article was in Vanity Fair in the January issue, and we let her become embedded with our team. So she had access to everybody, she spent days with everybody, and she wrote pretty much the definitive story of what happened to Richard in 1996. So Marie calls, and I said, "Oh, hi Marie, we haven't spoken for a long time." And she says, "What do you think about a movie deal with Leo DiCaprio playing you and Jonah Hill playing Richard?" And I'm like, this is out of the blue. This is about 17 years later. It's like, you're nuts. I'm looking at this thinking, this is a fake call. This is probably my brother. But it turned out to be true. So we signed up. And the way they do their deals is they make a nice big number for you. And this was with Bobby and Marie and I. Bobby Jewell is Richard's mother, who I got to know, or we got to know real closely because of this ordeal that the family went through. And later, when Nadia and I got married a few years after this, Bobby was the nanny to our kids. So when the first kid came home from the hospital, Bobby Jewell was there, and we have been close with her ever since. Anyhow, so they get an option for 18 months, and they pay us for that, and they don't exercise the right to buy our lifeboats. Then it goes on another 18 months, and then it goes on another year, and we think the whole deal is dead. In the meantime, they've only spoken to us really once after we made our deal. So nobody gives a hoot about Richard or Bobby and Watson and Marie. They're all off doing their thing, and Billy Ray, who has been nominated for Oscars for scripts, we met with him, showed him around town, and he wrote a script. Nor have I seen the script. And then I found out later, about a year ago, that they purposely did not let me see the script. And after I read it, it was with a damn good reason, because I have a whole lot to say about what they put in this thing. Anyway, so we think the deal is dead in the summer of 2018, and then we get a phone call from our agent. I mean, I actually have a Hollywood agent. And this fella's a weird older guy, and you know, I'm almost 70, so he's older. He wears a kimono. He is hard to talk to. It's what you would imagine a strange Hollywood agent to be like. Well, this is Marie Brenner's agent, and so Bobby and I went with him. But anyway, he says they've exercised the option. We later found out that the option was exercised in part because Disney had purchased 21st Century Fox, and we were a 21st Century Fox deal, and so they exercised the option so this would go on to the Disney company. Anyway, so then this is exercised again. Oh, what a surprise, now I've got more money. I love that. But still nobody talks to us. And then roll it to 2019, which is over 5 years after we signed the original deal. Nadia and I are in our office over here on Maple Drive in Buckhead. We're doing whatever we do. And then we get a call on the phone, and the receptionist downstairs says, hey, there's two guys that want to come up and see your office. Okay? And it's like, who are they? I don't know. They may have something to do with a movie or something. And I said, well, fine, send them up. So these two guys come up. One of them looks like he was working in the yard with me. I mean, he's got on sneakers, he's got on shorts, and sort of a ratty shirt. And the other one is more or less like dressed for the golf course. He looks better. He's got long pants on and stuff. But anyway, and by the way, that's the way I dress at work. I've got on long pants for you today. Because it's cold. I don't dress up anymore. But anyway, these guys come into the office, and then they introduce themselves, and the one guy says, I'm a producer for Clint Eastwood. And it's like, are you kidding me? Okay? And it's like, that's great. So what do you want to know? He says, well, they're negotiating to buy the story from 21st Century. And the thing is, Clint Eastwood will only do Warner Brothers. He's been with them forever. That's it. If Warner Brothers can't get the deal, he's not going to do the deal. So he tried to get the Jewell thing a couple of years before this, and they couldn't make a deal with 21st Century. And part of that is because one of the participants is a DiCaprio company, another one is a Hill company, then you've got the regular producer, Kevin Misher company, then you've got 21st Century Fox. I mean, it's just like a big ball of trouble, all of it. But Disney owned it now, and the guy that was running the Disney Pictures stuff is a big buddy of Clint Eastwood, and so when Clint Eastwood calls him up and says, hey, I'm interested in this, the other guy says, sure, what would you like? And he said, can I buy it from you? He said, fine. So the big guys just sold the thing over to Malpaso, which is Clint Eastwood's company. Anyway, the next thing I know, a couple of days later, I'm on the phone with Clint Eastwood. We have an hour conversation, and he's asking me whether or not what I thought about the script. And I say, I've never seen the script. And he's aghast. He says, I don't believe it. You've never seen the script. And then it's like, send him the script, send him the script. And that's how I got the first script. And then it went on from there. It was just really a ride that was unbelievable. I got the script, by the way, and I treated it like I do all my contracts. I put it in a Word version, and then I redlined the whole thing. I like redlined the living S out of this thing because there was more BS in this that had nothing to do with what went on with Richard than I think I've ever seen. I mean, they have my ex-wife in there, and they're referring to her as a real cobra. I'm like, do you want my daughter and my ex-wife to ever even talk to me again after seeing something like this? But they did refer to my wife Nadia as a real hottie. I kind of like that. I'll tell you what's really funny is to read a story in which you are a part. It's just surreal, especially when it's so far from reality. We read this thing together on a trip in the car, and we're just laughing out loud at the thing. Anyway, after that, they flew us out to Warner Brothers in Burbank, and we met Clint Eastwood and his Malpaso family, and they just treated us so wonderfully. they couldn't have been any nicer to us. And this is Bobby, Jewell, and I. So this is Richard's mom and I, and as you probably know, unfortunately, Richard passed away in 2005 or 6. And so, you know, my biggest regret is that he wasn't here to experience this, because Clint Eastwood is probably his biggest, you know, star. Anyway, they flew us out there, they were nice to us, and I can go on with story after story after story after story about this stuff. But I gotta tell you, when Clint Eastwood is probably my biggest star my whole life, I mean, I'm like most guys our age, we grew up with the spaghetti westerns, Blondie, you know? And then we go on to Dirty Harry and The Pale Rider and The Outlaw Josie Wales and on and on and on with this stuff. But I can't tell you how cool it is to sit on a sofa with somebody like this and be able to ask him questions, you know, that you've wanted to ask about some of these movies. And like one of them is a movie called Gauntlet. It was one of my particular things. And in it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a movie. And he is trying to get a Sandra Locke, who was his love interest and the mother of some of his children. She is a witness, and the mob wants to kill her, and he's a drunk cop, and he's supposed to get her to the grand jury so she can testify. And they're being attacked by dirty cops and gangsters and all this stuff. And at one point, they're holed up in a house. And it's sort of a modest house. It's one story. And they're in there, and then they get surrounded by the police. And they're told, the police are under orders, they're armed and dangerous, we need to kill them because they want to kill her so she can't testify against the mob. And then somebody, you know, drops something, and then the police start shooting at the house. Well, they keep shooting at the house, shooting at the house, and shooting at the house. And I mean, they're just blowing the house to pieces, and Clint Eastwood and Sandra Locke are inside. They go down in the basement, and they sneak out through some sewer tunnel or something like that and get away. But at the end of the scene, the whole house collapses. They literally shot the house down. And I swear, when I saw that in the movie, I just went, holy mackerel, it was so funny. So I've asked him about it, and he says, oh yeah, that was great. I got the idea because back in the 70s, if you remember Patty Hearst and the Symbionese Liberation Army and all this kind of crazy stuff that was going on, these guys that were part of that radical group were holed up in a house somewhere in Los Angeles. And I think they've just been involved in a bank robbery or something like that. Well, the LA police surrounded the house, and then they shot the living H out of it, okay? And in fact, the house, they shot it so much it caught on fire and it burned down a whole city block. And so that's where he got the idea for that piece. But anyway, you want to know how, then they made the movie. By the way, this is Nadia and I's 21st anniversary today, right now. 1 year ago, this day, December 10th, 2019, was when they had the Atlanta premiere of the movie, which is one heck of an anniversary present to the two of us, because it was a night that we'll never forget. Of course, the stars were here, and they had a viewing of the movie, and then after that they had a party, and we got to invite a lot of friends, and it was just fantastic. I can tell you that Kathy Bates is my kind of woman. She is a lot of fun. You can sit at the bar with her. I don't know if these pictures are up here, but I sent one picture that it's a wrap party. You can see Clint Eastwood at the bar. You can see here Nina Arianda, who played my wife Nadia in the movie. And you can see Kathy Bates with a fan. I'm not sure if this is up here.
I'm going to get to it.
But I got along fantastic with her. She likes to party, you know? And she's somebody that you can, before COVID, you could get close to her. I just loved her. Anyway, Sam Rockwell's a great guy, by the way, and to get my part down, he came to my office one day, and he sat in there with me for 5 hours. We went over all the lines in the script, and so he would say, okay, well, let's do this one. And, you know, these are things I'm supposed to be saying, right? And so he would do it. He would read it, and he would sort of like halfway act it, and then he'd say, okay, you do it. I want to see how you do it, okay? And so then I do it, and I stink at it. Right? I'm awful being me. You know? So, and I said, hey, man, I can't do this. You do it. And it's like, you're the actor. And then he would do it again. And I mean, he's sitting that far away from me, right? And I'm watching him do me, and it was like, great, you know, this is fantastic. I mean, what I'd say to people, I'd say it's every part of him is acting. Facial expressions, his body language, the words coming out of his mouth. In the first scene in that movie, the Richard Jewell movie, you hear my voice. You see Richard pushing a cart, which he never did in our real office, but it lets you get the picture that he was sort of the supply room mail guy in our office. And you can hear my voice. It's Sam Rockwell cussing somebody out on the phone. You don't know me, but I'm nice until you're not nice, and then I'm not nice either. It's just the way I am. So I'm on the phone, and I'm listening, and I'm going, holy, that sounds just like I think I sound. It was pretty amazing. But he'd tape our sessions together, and he would practice with them, and before he would do a scene sometimes, he would call me up and he'd say, okay, I want you to say this, I want to know what the background is on this. It was amazing the depth that he went into with his part. But then there was Kathy Scruggs, Olivia Wilde. I can tell you guys, she is smoking hot. She is smart as a whip. She was just fantastic. And I guess one of the regrets I have about the movie is all the heat she took because of the AJC blowback on the portrayal, which, from what I know, was pretty accurate. But anyway, John Hamm's a great guy. And of course, Clint Eastwood is fantastic. And he's just a guy's guy, and he's a ladies' guy. And if you want to get to Clint Eastwood, you're never going to get him on the phone. You're never going to get him with an email. He doesn't do any of that. He's surrounded by these women that will die to keep you away. You've got to have a legitimate reason to be there. There's a team of gals in the publicity department of Warner Brothers, and I tell you, they got sharp elbows. They will take you where they want you to be. So when we were in Los Angeles at the Chinese Theater, which has got some other name now that you've seen in the Oscars so many times over your life, they're taking you over here, they're taking you over there. I mean, Nadia and I are on the red carpet. We're here with Clint Eastwood. We're here with Sam Rockwell, with Kathy Bates, and we're with Clint's special person, his lady, and her friends and stuff like that. I mean, I could talk to you for hours just about the premiere in Los Angeles about this thing. I could talk to you for hours about any one of my trips with them. They came to Atlanta, they shot it in Atlanta, they shot it in my office, they took the building over. People working in our office are sitting here because Clint Eastwood is going down the hall. And the thing about him is, what sums him up, really. One night they invited us in to see the shooting at the park. And they took over the whole Centennial Park, pretty much. And they had over 650 extras and down there at the park when they were doing the shooting of the bombing and that kind of stuff. And after the scene where the bomb goes off, by the way, he'd come to work over there. They'd show up at about 7 in the evening, and they would leave at about 4 or 5 in the morning. And then they'd go back and sleep during the day and come back because it was all nighttime stuff. But so it's after the bombing, and when that is the last shooting that they're going to do at the park, and you've got all of these first responders, you've got firemen, you've got policemen, you've got all kinds of people down there. So Clint Eastwood, who at that time was 89 years old and is now 90, and he's working his butt off, okay, here, involved in everything, all right? He, by the way, He's not called Clint, he's not called Mr. Eastwood, he's called the boss. With a big B, big O, big S, big S. The boss said, the boss said. He doesn't even say anything, he just kind of looks a certain way, and they know what that means. Because he's been with these people so long, and they all hop too. But when this was over, he's exhausted, okay? And every single person that wanted a picture with him, they got one. He stood there for 45 minutes, making sure he is your old style, good guy Hollywood actor. He's always ready for you to have a picture with him, you know? And, okay, sorry, I'm supposed to stand up. But anyway, he's just a fantastic person. What I thought was funny is when it was over, everybody wanted to go home, but he's going to have his breakfast, okay? He gets his food. He eats he eats a meal, and it's always good, healthy stuff and whatnot. So he asked Nadia and I to have breakfast with him that morning. So it was Clint, Nadia, and I, and then Chuck, who's his bodyguard. He's got these people that are around him. You look at Chuck and you think, I'm not going to mess with Chuck, okay? The thing about Chuck is I found out he's like 76 years old. Chuck is like 76 and he looks like he's 55 and just got out of the ring something. But anyway, and then Chuck is his bodyguard when he's traveling. Then he's got another gal named Lainey. She guards the door to his trailer. He's got this like Silver Stream, like Winnebago. It's not a Winnebago. It's something really cool. And that's where he goes when he's on site. They park this thing and Lainey's at the door. You know, Lainey's like 6'2". She's got some arms on her and she's cute too. But I never had the guts to tell her. But anyway, she does that. But anyway, Nadia and I have breakfast with him, and then when we're walking out, I'm walking with Chuck, because I really like Chuck. Nadia's walking with Clint, and then we peel off to go to get to our car, and Clint and Chuck go on down to where his limo is. And then she says, well, Clint said that it might be fun if we'd have dinner sometime. You know, it's on him and whatnot. You know, and I'm looking at him and I'm looking at her and I'm like saying, hey, does that mean me too? But anyway, one of the things that happened, he loves Antico Pizza down there by Georgia Tech. And so when he's in town and he's shooting, he may be over there on a Saturday night just with Chuck or somebody else like that. So they had their open start filming party down there, and we're invited, and some of these pictures are from that. And then we had the rap party down there, and he just likes that place. But you can see Kathy Bates and some, I got so many pictures, but Kathy Bates smoking a cigar with a drink in her hand and her arm around Bobby Jewell and stuff, and Bobby pretending to have a cigar in her mouth. But, hell, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Whatever. I mean, I probably ran my mouth enough. You guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
We absolutely have time for questions. Please stand if you're going to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And would you please repeat so that people at home can hear what the question was?
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, after they ask you the question.
Oh, you want me to try to remember it and say it? Yes, buddy.
First of all, thanks for a fascinating presentation. It's just wonderful. But what I wanted to ask you is, many of us have read the book Suspect, which Kent Alexander, the former U.S. attorney, did. To what extent is it accurate from their participation from what you remember?
You're asking me how accurate I think the book is?
Yeah. Where the part that you're concerned with, yeah. It's okay. You can
The book is Kent Alexander's perspective, okay? I, for example, don't like the search warrant. I think it was cherry-picked, and I think it was unfair, and I think they should have never searched his house in the first place. I mean, there's little stuff like that. And then I think, I have a much different opinion about the behavior of the Atlanta Journal and the rest of the media than I think was presented in there. I think he was clearly liable. It's just that the laws are written in such a way now. And then they changed the law for us here in Georgia. to allow the AJC to shield its source for FBI suspects Hero Guard planted bomb. And I don't care what it says in the book about a friend of Kathy said this. To me, it was also self-serving. We don't know what happened. We never will know what happened. I have a friend that I brought on the team, and we have sort of a love-hate relationship. And I guess I'm mostly a private person. I don't get out much. I'm not a social butterfly like Matt, my brother, okay? I'm pretty much live in my own little world, right? But one of the guys that I brought on with this was Lynn Wood. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Okay, well, Lynn is, I love him and sometimes I hate him, okay? What he had trouble with is that I had what he and his partner Wayne Grant called the power of the jewel. Because Richard and I became friends when there was no reason to be friends, right? Except I liked him. He was a younger guy. He thought I was funny, and he would hang around my office, and I would give him a ride home from work, and after a while, we'd go from the Russell Building downtown where our SBA office was, and we'd go over to the Omni, and we'd eat lunch at Chick-fil-A. And, it's like I'm at Chick-fil-A. I'd go to Chick-fil-A, I'd have a Chick-fil-A. I'd go next door and I'd play video games at the gold mine. It was a great distraction from the frustration of working in a government office. Okay, it sort of took the edge off. Calm, breathe, like that. Then one day he's in there at Chick-fil-A, and then I'm like, hey, come on over, we'll sit together. Then he's in the gold mine. The video game place is no longer there. And this is in the mid-'80s, okay? And so then it's like, well, let's play together. And after a while, we would play together, actually play the same game. We could put in a quarter each, we could play a game for our whole lunch hour, because we were so damn good at it afterwards. Even the name of it is in the book. Because Ken asked me, and I went and looked it up. I love the game. I don't play this much anymore. But anyway, Richard trusted me, and that's why he called me. Basically, you're the only lawyer I know that I didn't meet in the course of being a cop, and I hate all them. That kind of thing. And, I just try to be a decent person. I try to do the right thing, and I live my own life, and I try not to tell anybody else how to do theirs, and so he trusted me. And my job was to take care of him and his mother. And that means also protecting from the lawyers that we're dealing with. And that's what I do. I watch them, I know what's supposed to be going on, and then I control them. Well, Lynn doesn't like control. I don't know, you may get that from the way he's been behaving lately. So I listen to books now. I don't read anything. All I do is read junk all day long and work, although I only work a half a day long because I screw around so much. But it got to where I'm listening or reading about Lynn's perspective, which is very different than mine. Okay, Lynn loves attention. And I want to be careful what I say because I like the guy, but at the same time, we have our issues. I'm about taking care of this guy, okay? And so when I'm taking care of this guy, you don't go on the Today Show with the Ramseys and this guy when the Ramseys are still like, there's still like a little dark cloud over them. I didn't like that, and we had a war about that. And if I had the emails and went back and forth between it, they'd probably set your hair on fire as well as your hands and everything else, because I'm not shy about telling you what I think about you if you're stepping on my feet, like what's going on here. But anyway, to get back to the book, I have problems with the way our side was presented because a lot of it was out of the mouth of Lynn, because I had an agreement with Warner Brothers, okay? And the agreement, well, actually with 20th Century Fox, and then they took an assignment of the contract, blah, blah, blah. that I wasn't going to say anything without their permission. So I let my brother do my talking with Ken Alexander. Ken's a great guy. You know, we later became friends. You know, he forgave me for suing him in a 1983 action back in 1997. And, but that was more like a therapy session for me. You know, it was just like I could get out all my frustrations about what I believe to be government misconduct in this law. But whatever. You know, I've said it, I will go on forever. My wife is supposed to say squirrel, okay? If you ever saw the movie Squirrel, that means that Watson's chasing a squirrel, okay? And he needs to come back and focus on what the thing is. But have I answered your question?
I think we have time for one more quick question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You talked about buying the rights for the story, 21st Century, Warner Brothers, and Disney. So how do you own a news event story?
No, you own your life rights. Let me explain to you what the agreement is. The agreement basically says we can portray you in this film as anything we want to, okay, and you can't sue us. Basically, it's a giant release, all right? So they can make me, and I'm totally hetero, okay? They can make me, you know, like I'm not going to soft child molesters. They can make me a dwarf trial molesting, you know, like transvestite or something. And I got nothing to say about it, okay? But, you know, and then they do a good snow job with this thing. If I had to do it over again, I'd be doing it different than I do it now, because the people we signed up with, they were regular Hollywood people, okay? And it's only by the grace of the gods that Clint Eastwood took this thing over, all right? We got the best guy on earth to tell Richard's story. The first script was so ridiculous. I mean, they've got my daughter at the Piedmont Driving Club, they got my father giving me a talk, you know, as he sits on his desk behind a portrait like you see in Dallas or something of J.R. Ewing. If you knew my old man, he would have like flipped on that one. This is totally not us anyway. Yeah, enough?
Okay. Stay here with us for just a moment.
All right.
Because the person who's thanking you is going to be on the screen here. He'll wave at you.
Governor.
Governor Barnes.
As soon as he unmutes it.
Yes, I love you, Nick. Can you hear me?
You can't say
Yes,
that.
I
Yes,
can.
I can. I will tell you this, Mark. I heard Lynn Wood describe one time as an acquired taste. And there's a lot of truth in that. I've known him since he was an associate. But I want to thank you for coming and sharing with us today. And I think this whole story is very instructive to all of us. And that is, don't jump to conclusions by what you read in the press. Things are often very different in reality than they are and what you read in the press. Then in politics, I can tell you that to be true. Of course, I'm going straight now. But the other thing that I think that is very important in this story is to learn that the FBI is not made up of a bunch of angels. And those of us who practice law and have dealt with them over the years, we know that. There's a lot of good folks and a lot of dedicated folks, but they're very intense, and sometimes, many times, they lose sight of their true goal, and that is to do justice. And they're more interested in just making the case and having another notch on their belt. So we thank you for looking after Richard, number one. And number two, we thank you for coming today and telling us the story that we should all remember. So thanks and best luck to you.
Thank you, Roy. So,
Excellent.
all right. So what we don't give you a trinket to take with you. What we do is we have a book that is donated to a local school in your honor. And I don't know if we have a book with us today, but we will actually sign one for you. And if you have a quote that you would like to put in it, you can share it with Matt, and we'll make sure it gets put in the book. So thank you. That was incredibly entertaining. The first thing that came through my mind and the first thing I wrote down was, okay, how do I get an intro to Clint Eastwood? If nothing else, so I can ask him about bridges in Madison County. You know, for those of us who do remember the spaghetti westerns, that one kind of sticks in my head. Also, happy anniversary to both of you. Lovely that you're with us, that you took time to join us today on your anniversary. Sorry it wasn't a 5-course meal. And any time that any of us could be invited into your little world, we would love it. So you're welcome back anytime. We do have a little last week. This club is incredible. What you guys do and the way you give, especially during the season where we ask a lot. We try not to do it all year long, but this is always the season where we seem to be sticking out our hands a lot. And you apparently don't know the word no, and we love you for it. So we do have a giveaway today. Matt has. Are you going to do that in the form of a giveaway? The 2 bags? Okay. So, our friend Paul Cunningham has graciously donated this beautiful poinsettia, and so we are going to draw for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the great Kiwanis giveaway. Not a raffle. Madam President, would you reach in with your honest hand and pick out one number reading the last 4 digits out loud into the microphone, please, Madam President.
5125.
5125. 5125. You must try. Come on up here. Congratulations. Now,
I trust you.
we trust you.
Points at.
Now wait, there's more.
Pirate, yeah, well.
I have more.
Are you giving it to me?
I've got 2 gifts.
Oh, look at that. Okay, for those of you who didn't see that, Vance just won the poinsettia. He immediately turned around and gave it to Pat. Yay. I gave it to Mike. What was I thinking?
I have here 2 gifts, one for Wat Bryant and one for Nadia, and if you'll come up here and get them. And there's such a special gift that I bought one for myself. If you take it out, and I would like you to put it on. It is a mask of the girl with a pearl earring by Vermeer, 1665, Dutch master. And if you're going to wear a mask, you might as well class it up. So put it on. Thank you so much. Your reward. Thank you.
Oh, this is great.
Thanks, Matt.
This is definitely the best mask.
Oh, that's better than the blue ones. That's pretty cool.
Edith,
Yes.
if I could tell Vance something, your next quarter dues are waived.
Okay. So you guys don't get the benefit of the sidebars. Pat just looked and told Vance his next quarter dues are waived.
That's the lies that women tell.
I think you should wait Paul's, because Paul's the one who donated. He gets all the credit, Paul did all the work. Goodness. I do want to thank our guests for being here with us today. We had a lot. I noticed a couple had to leave, but let's see if I can run them off. So Nadia, Bruce, obviously our speaker, Wat, Steve, Woodman, Jerica Richardson. I know Jerica had to leave early. Jim Schultz, we're glad you're here. Where'd you go? There you are. Thank you. And online, Paul and Daryl, Adam and Fred. We would love to be able to show you all the things that we do. So if you are looking for a place to pay your civic rent, you can see Pat Kiwi for an application and more information on this terrific club. So JK, before you leave, will you stop by and see the principal on your way out? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to leave you today with this quote by Neil Gaiman. It says, I forgot this. Next week, this is important. Next week is our annual holiday extravaganza joined with the Rotary Club of Marietta. The same rules apply. We can still only have 50 people. It will be in this room. That means 25 people from their club, 25 is ours. Because it is their year to plan, we swap it every year. The meeting is on Wednesday. If you come for lunch next Thursday, you're all on your own. Pat will have the information. We'll have a Zoom sign up. We'll do all the same things. You'll be able to register the same way we have. Just look for your emails from Pat, but that is next Wednesday, not Thursday. So change it on your calendar. So, behave. So I'm now gonna leave you with this quote by Neil Gaiman. I hope that in this year to come, you make mistakes. Because if you are making mistakes, then you are making new things. Trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world. You're doing things you've never done before. And more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish. Don't freeze, don't stop, don't worry that it isn't good enough or it isn't perfect. Whatever it is, art or love or work or family or life. Whatever it is you're scared of doing, do it. Make your mistakes next year and forever. And Vance, if you will please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice to see you. She's supposed to sign it. I don't know what to do these days. Buddy.